Right, so I was doing a portrait from scratch of a character and I was having a bit of trouble with the ear, so I thought why not do an ear study and record it while I'm at it. So here I got a bunch of reference images from morgueFile, and you can't see them because I filmed the half portion of the screen I was drawing on, because it's not very fun to do studies with nothing going on, so I usually just watch videos in the background, and I put my reference on that side. But anyways, so I got some images, and I think really that's the best way. I mean, if you're having trouble with something, just grab a bunch of images of it and draw it at least 3 times. I think I would have been good with 3 ears, just for what I needed it, but I thought I'd go ahead and do more than that, just to observe some variation, and then you're going to see now in a moment. I also got a young ear from, I think it looked like a toddler. I don't think it was a baby. And there's also an old ear in a little while. It's going to be the sixth ear, and you're going to see some of the wrinkles. And your ears don't actually keep on growing forever, but what happens is gravity starts to pull your skin down, and that's why you get wrinkles and everything. And it also pulls the ear down, and you'll start to get like you see the young ear right here. It's really smooth and round, and in the old ear you'll see in a bit the lobe is more defined. Like the features are all more defined. There's more shadows, and the skin is old. You can't really tell that much in the study because I didn't blend it to like a realistic shading, so it's just some quick shading. But there's like little wrinkles in the skin. They're coming up in a little while. Let me also explain some of the process. So I like to use a gray background. I forgot in the beginning. But it's really nice to have a gray background because then you can go on a layer on top of that, and when you're drawing, you can draw in the shadows at full strength and then go in with the eraser. You can see me doing it right now constantly. That's just me going in, drawing all the shadows and erasing it away till it's like the right value. And then you can do the same thing with the highlights. So you can go in really bright and then sort of tone it down. And I really like how that looks. Kind of looks like pencil, even though I'm using just a regular brush with a I think it had a opacity on and shape dynamics on, but I don't like the size to go too small. Like I make it taper off instead of end really tiny. I prefer that. And here you're seeing, this is the old ear, as you can see, and right there I'm adding the wrinkles right there on the lobe, and there's also wrinkles in front of the ear, not so much in the back, but in front where it goes to the face, because the face starts to wrinkle. And there again with the highlights you can see some of the wrinkles I'm adding in, and then I'll erase them away to smooth them out a bit. As you can see, I usually start out with figure 9, and then I go in to detail the curve of that Y shape that you see in the ears and the inside. And then usually I do the outside kind of last, and define the area near the ear canal and all that. Obviously, I don't really know all the precise anatomical terms for the parts of the ear apart from the earlobe, the ear canal, but I think it's easier to remember it as shapes. Plus you can kind of remember the order and just base yourself off that. So here I'm finishing up all the ears. There they are. Okay, so now we're on full screen, and my computer crashed while I was recording this, so I already have some heads ready. I wanted to talk a bit about the placement of the ear on the side of the head. So here from the side, usually the ear stops at the brow line right there, between the brow line and the nose line. So most ears go like that, and this line right here goes at an angle, and it follows the angle of the jaw. So all these ears, I drew them straight up, and facing head on, because I knew that the problem I was having with the ear was mostly with the interior details. I can rotate it pretty well in my head now. That's not too hard. But if you're not very good at rotating things in your head, I'd recommend you draw out a few different angles. So that's from the side, and occasionally some people will have it lower, like around the eye line to just above, like at the upper lip, maybe. And you have to change the jaw a bit to accommodate that. But otherwise, usually it's right there. And then facing head on, same thing. So you follow this line right here and the brow line. And it's a bit too high, it doesn't curve that much. So you follow it in perspective, and then you can draw your ear there. And if you're looking up, you follow that line. You pretend it's wrapping around the head, and the ear will be just slightly lower when you're facing up. It's not like right where that line meets the edge of the head, because you have to consider it keeps going on the side plane right here. So same thing with the other side. Oops. And the higher you look, the lower the ears will be. Sometimes it might even look like they're coming out of the neck instead of your head, because they're lower on the head. Now if you're looking down, again you follow that line, or follow the line of the nose, but this time you do kind of draw it around there. So don't go too high when you're looking down, because it'll look weird. That's because when you look up, the ear turns more if you're looking up, but not if you're looking down. If you're looking down, it stays about in the same place, because it's not, the ear isn't here, so it's not right in the middle of the head. It's down here. So there's a bit of a difference, depending if you're looking up or you're looking down. And of course, at very extreme angles, don't forget that you're going to start seeing more of the bottom or more of the top of the ear. So it might shrink a bit. So if you're looking at a person straight up, you'll see the bottom of the ear. And if you're looking at them from above, you might just see the ear like that, and it'll be smaller than the full ear. So if that was their ear from above, it'll be smaller, or from below, it would be smaller. So that's the placement, and I'll make this file available on my blog, so keep that. And now I'm going to draw an ear in real time. So first, like I said, I like to start with the figure 9, but first we have to place it. So let's say this is the angle of the jaw, and this is our brow line, and this is our nose line. Oops. And you kind of get like a parallelogram. But this, I don't know, sometimes I found this confusing because I'd warp the ear to fit the box. So, you kind of want to do this, because the ear's turned, it's not warped, to fit that. So actually, oops. No, I did this wrong. The top of the ear needs to hit there. And the bottom of the ear needs to hit there. So you kind of get this box like this. You can erase these if they're confusing you a bit. And if you have a program that lets you, you can even turn the canvas like this. So I'm gonna turn it back and do it the hard way. Okay, so now I'm gonna start with the figure 9. So don't start here because that's not where it's starting. It starts around there, and then we're gonna leave space for the edge of the ear, and this is gonna go all the way around and to about there, like about 2/3 of the way. I'd say about. It depends. And then there's a shadow there. And now this part right here, oops, this goes all the way in. So, oops, it kind of goes like, it curls in and then it goes like that. You can see it really clearly in this ear right here. Curls in and goes like that. So let me do that, and then I'm going to start on what I like to call like the C shape. So this shape right here, sometimes it curves out a bit where it starts, but not always. You can just draw it as a C if you want. I'm going to curve it out a bit right here, and then we're going to go like that. And I'm going to draw this until we approach the shadow right here. And move it a bit. And the width here, if you imagine the edge of the ear here, this will be just as thick, and then there's a space here for the shadow of the ear. So I'll draw that in right now. You can see. So there's usually a space like that. Right, and then to finish this, I'm going to add the little dip that forms here. That makes part of the Y shape right here. And depending on how big this is, the core shadow is on the edges right here, or it might be in the middle, usually near the top. So kind of like that. So it's quite big. I'm going to soften it up a bit. And now I'm going to do the outer edge of the ear. And usually there's like a pattern to this. You either get like a thin right here, then thicker over here, then thin, and it just gets slightly thicker, or you get thicker here, not too thick, but like that, and thinner here, and then the same thing on this side. So you can see it, for example, in these two ears, they're the opposite. This part stays pretty much the same though. It always gets slightly bigger. You can vary that a bit if you want, though. I mean, this ear, for example, has a little dip right there. So I'm gonna do thin over here and slightly thicker, and we're gonna go back to thin again, and slowly get thicker. Right. And here, where the ear joins the head, I like to kind of draw it like this, but usually the hair is covering it right there, so it doesn't really matter. But where the lobe meets, so here we have our earlobe. Usually, unless the ear, you have a connected earlobe. So, unless this is connected right here, and it kind of goes like that, it just ends abruptly there when you're looking at it from the side. Or really from any side, really, think about it. So, there's our earlobe. And now I'm going to do this interior part. And we know this kind of continues like that, and goes inwards. And it's kind of, it doesn't go completely parallel to the C shape like I had it. Usually it kind of ends around here, so I'm going to adjust that. And then here, this can either, oops, sorry, my tablet is malfunctioning. This can either go like this, like it'll have a kind of like a dip there, and then it'll go out, like you see that in this here, or it can end kind of abruptly without that, like that. So and you can see that in this one and this one. So that, and then here I kind of like to imagine like a little M shape, so a very squiggly M, and this connects with this C shape right there. There we go. Right, and you don't see this, so I'm going to erase that. And I'm going to put the shadow just slightly lower. It's a bit too high. Just there. So this ends about 2/3 of the ear down. The shadow goes on a bit more. So now I'm going to shade this. And this is almost always in shadow, no matter where the light's coming from. It tends to form some sort of shadow because it's so far into the ear. And I'm gonna make the light come from here. So keeping that in mind, there would be a bit of a shadow on this, depending how far it sticks out. So that, and this part usually tends to be really dark. Oops, not that dark. There we go. And here, you usually don't see the ear canal unless you're looking at the ear like head on, but there's still quite a shadow that forms here because the skin is starting to go in, and then we can do the rest of this in shadow up till about there, and we're gonna lighten this bit just a bit. There we go. I'm gonna put some of this in shadow, and again lighten it just a bit. There we go. So it gradually gets darker. And then we're going to add a bit of shadow on here because this is like kind of sticking out. And this part of the ear can stick out quite a lot, so I'm going to make it stick out here. So there would be quite a shadow here forming as a part of this one. And we're going to have the shadow there real quick. If you're looking at this from the front, so let's say I had the ear like that, that part that I'm talking about can stick up all the way to the edge of the ear. You usually can't see it from the back though, like if you're looking at it from the back. Oops. If you're looking at it from the back, you wouldn't be able to see anything sticking out right there. But from the front, it goes just to the edge of the ear sometimes. And anywhere from here to around here. So let me erase that. And then I'm going to draw some shadow here because this and this stick out as well. Not this one, this shadow, this tends to be in shadow almost all the time because it's very close to the head. But these parts will stick out just a bit, so I'm going to put some shadow there and then lighten it. And here is usually in shadow. So. And then another thing that happens is the earlobe kind of gets like this dip usually around here. So I'll show you that in a second. So you can see it here in this ear, and this one, and this one over here, this one a little bit. So it kind of dips in, and you can imagine that. Then we're going to add some shadow here in the back. And some here. And some ears, I didn't do it on this one, but some ears have like a little thing sticking out here. I don't know if you can see it, but there. And this one has it. Not all of them, but if you want to do that, just kind of draw it like that. And to accentuate that, what you can do is put this in shadow. So I'm going to draw a shadow along here. And then leave this light and put this in shadow again. And now onto the highlights. Actually, I'm going to just a bit soft shadow here. There we go. Okay. Now onto the highlights. So in that same area right here, we can add a bit of light right there. And right there. To kind of accentuate that. Not too much. You don't want to add highlights excessively because otherwise it just looks like the used flash on a camera. So soften them up quite a bit. And for example, we're going to add a strong one here where this would stick out. And some here, but softer. And usually this part of the Y tends to catch more light than this one. As for the earlobe, you can pretend it's a sphere, so I'm going to shade the top of the earlobe. And some more light here. And then this sticks out a bit. And this sticks out a bit. But of course this part would be kind of in shadow. Because it's kind of three-dimensional. You can see it really clearly in that one. So I'm going to add a bit of shadow right there. Okay, so now I'm gonna clean this up, and I'm gonna add some notes on all the things I covered, and I'm gonna post that on my. I'm gonna post this whole thing on my blog, so you can find the files there. I was gonna do a video on painting it, so like the colors and what happens if you have light from behind the ear, so you have subsurface scattering, but this video is already quite long, so I'm going to leave that for a different one. And I already have it all set up. I have some models to show you what's going on. So now I'm gonna, the rest of the video, it's just gonna be me drawing out these notes sped up. If you have any questions, leave a comment. If you like this video, share it, subscribe, check out my blog, and I also have a Patreon if you want to support me.